After playing a bit with the most recent World War I themed Warbond, I had a big question to ask myself. And it's, why are the devs still showing the Patriot in the footage? Hey guys, it's the Gundam Boy, and today we're going to be talking about how broken the mechs are. And not in the good way. And I went a little bit deeper to research these mechs to tell you how outdated they are. So today we're going to take a look at their offensive and defensive capabilities, and how they feel in the field. And we're going to be talking about the Patriot and the Emancipator. So no better place to start off than talking about these mechs' flimsy armor. So both of the mechs have the same armor stats, so this will cover both of them. The main health pool of the mechs have only 850 health, with a medium armor level, with 100% durable, but its XDR is only 50, which is shared with the main segment of the torso. And then there's the legs, which has 250 health and an armor value of 2, with it being a durable level of 80, but it also transfers a lot of that damage to the main health pool, which is fatal if it's destroyed. Then we have our mech's arms, which is only 350 health with a armor penetration of 2, with 80% durable, but no explosive resist. There's other parts on the mech that I could talk about as well, but they're not nearly as important as these three. Now, I think we can already see what the problem is, and that it's the mech's overall squishy, and I could showcase this with something like the Pacifier, which has a standard damage of 55 and a durable of 10, which does similar damage to a very common enemy, the Warrior. And it does very similar damage numbers to a Scout Strider's main gun. This effectively allows me to show you guys how durable the mech is without using the overpowered weapons and helldivers. In this test, we took the Pacifier and shot the right leg of the Patriot suit, which allowed me to kill it within a mag! If one of the worst guns in the game is capable of killing it within a mag, that really does tell you something about how it's going to fare against the rest of the game. But let's talk about a very common enemy in the game, the Rocket Dev, which has a rocket launcher that can fire AP6. But I want you to take a guess of how many barrages it takes for the Emancipator or the Patriot to die. That's right, against the Rocket Dev, it took only 3 rocket barrages. One of the most common enemies you'll see on the bot front, in patrols, at their bases, in your bed, can kill in 3 barrages. He's not even the biggest enemy on the bot front, and it's still getting absolutely clobbered by them. In another test against a single warrior, the most common chaff enemy, it took only around 5 swings to get the leg to break. Hope you like limping. There's like 50 of these bugs on the front, and all it took was 5 good hits to put your mech into a crippled state. One of the most important parts of the mech, the legs, get shattered. Even the fauna in the environment can do some damage against the mechs. It just stole the Emancipator's arm! God forbid that your mech gets grazed in the leg by a harvester. It is instant death, which has to be a joke, because if you look at the description, it says that it's a heavily armored walking exosuit. What was the primary I used again earlier? Let's take a look at something like the Hulk, which I wish the mech could be, which has heavy armor across the board except for the back, outdoing everything the Patriot and the Emancipator have armor-wise. Stronger legs, stronger arms, a bigger main health pool, which makes me very envious of the Hulk. And then there's the War Strider, which every mech diver envies, which blows both our mechs out of the water with its defense. With the lack of armor, mech divers have opted in to use either long-range strategies or dump their ammo as fast as possible. And in hopes to make their mech a little bit more durable, they would bring things like the shield generator pack. But you shouldn't have to bring another stratagem to make the mechs feel good. But with the ever-evolving battlefield of helldivers, with things like Vox engines being in the game, the mechs are just not worth bringing. They're not nearly as tanky as the majority of the forces you'll have to face off with. But a Pacifier one-magging it is crazy.
Did you just say the Pacifier, the weapon with the least damage in the entire game, can kill a mech in 1 mag? Oh, sweet baby Liberty, we need to force Morganson Armory to change its name to Paper Mache Sons Armory after this abomination. What happened, Airhead? These hulking brutes of democracy used to be the tip of the spear. I even made a video on how to kick in tyranny's door with our colossal metal feet and leak hydraulic fluid into the bot's honey bunches of bolts. And now they're getting killed by bushes? This is a problem, y'all. And it goes beyond mechs themselves feeling weak. Helldivers needs to be encouraging team play by making different playstyles and preferences work in concert. We've seen support-oriented stratagems like the arc thrower and the sterilizer get left in the dust in favor of more and more weapons of mass destruction. And now mechs have fallen into the same trap of being left behind in favor of new content. We need mech divers to feel empowered enough to want to hop into the pilot seat, because when they do, we can all benefit from the epic cinematic moments that come from mutually supporting supporting each other. Hell, I remember how great it felt storming the bug tunnels with mechs because they could be that tip of the spear. But in their current state, that spear has become a sad Q-tip that freedom left to rot on the bathroom floor. The fantasy of an armored assault is dead and buried when a single rocket devastator can bring down our heavy armored support with a few volleys. We can't build loadouts around a stratagem when it can die to random crap like incidental friendly fire, stepping on something nasty, or just getting shot to pieces while Pelican 2 drops it off. Especially not when the cooldown is so long and it has limited quantities. Mechs being this weak and feeble kills the enjoyment for helldivers that love whipping their Zoc out and discourages other helldivers from wanting to work together with their armor. Why would a random helldiver in quick play want to invest their time and equipment into supporting a tank or mech that's just likely to fall over at the first stiff breeze that comes its way? This isn't even mentioning the realism aspect. Armored vehicles that are expected to see frontline combat need to be able to take a hit. They are too expensive and too important to skimp on the extra armor. I like it when helldivers feels grounded, but seeing a weapon that is essentially a fancy taser take down something that is described by the game as a heavily armored combat walker broke me. Y'all need to start thinking of this thing as a democratic Hulk. What that unit does for the bots, the mechs should do for us. Take the easy win and make them tankier, damn it. There is great content here, just waiting to be revived. And an absolute horde of mech pilots yearning for the signal to take up their seat once again. All you need to get them back is a little change in perspective on what a mech should be to a squad of helldivers. Liberty, damn it, I'm going back to counting my crowns.
Well, that was weird. And it's not just the armor we need to talk about too, but we also have to talk about the weapons on both of these mechs. Now, both of the mechs are very powerful when you can dump all of your ammo, but I did find out that their damage numbers isn't too different from other support weapons. Like, let's take a look at the Emancipator's dual twin autocannon. So the Emancipator has a ballistic damage of 300 with a durable of 150, with an armor pen of 5 and an explosive radius of 150. So let's take a look at the autocannon support weapon. You can see that it has a ballistic damage of 325 with a durable of 260, while also having a lower penetration value. Then there is the autocannon Sentry, which is rocking a 450 ballistic for both the standard and the durable, and a penetration of 5. And you're probably saying, oh, but Gundam Boy should be fine, it has that armor pen value of 5, ignoring a lot of the heavies we have to fight. But that durable damage is comically low. So the problem with the Emancipator is that it has to spend overall more rounds to kill certain enemies, but you also have such a constricted amount of shots, as both autocannons only start with 100 rounds. Despite being a very fast DPS dealer, it's very fast on running out on the mag, especially when you consider that 100 rounds with a damage number of 150 for its durable when you're facing off with heavy targets doesn't exactly do you any favors. But then let's move over to the Patriot, which I'd have to say suffers way more in the damage department. The main weapon of the Patriot does 90 standard damage with a verse durable of 23, with a penetration of medium. Turns out, though, that the machine gun has the same exact damage numbers. Like, exactly. I could swap these around right in front of you, and you probably have no idea which one's the machine gun. And while it does have 1,350 rounds, the machine gun by itself isn't that far away from total ammo. It has 4 magazines and 175 ammo in each of them, which makes it around 700, not accounting for a very specific stratagem people like to pair with it. And you think that the rocket pods would hit any harder, but no, these are actually comparable to something like the Commandos. It has 1,250 damage at its AP level of 6, and it has an explosive of 400. When you look at that and you compare it to something like the Commando missiles, it really doesn't fall that far behind with 1,100 damage and it's 150 explosive. Both the Patriot and the Commando both suffer from having to fire multiple rounds. If you don't hit a specific weak point on any of the heavy units, like say if you miss the Hulk's eye, you have to follow up with another rocket. If you hit him in the center of his torso, he literally has 550 health left. Why wouldn't they just make it one shot? Even against the Warstrider's leg segments, that still doesn't do enough damage to one shot any of them. And it only gets worse when you see a behemoth charger tank one of those rockets to the head, making it very difficult to use something like the Patriot, especially if you're trying to use those rockets to cover anti-tank. But the Patriot's basically a glorified machine gun and commando walker. It's just as fragile as any other helldiver. Oh, and we absolutely can't forget that with the recent changes, mechs draw in so much aggro now these days, making it almost impossible to walk in the field without being in some form of combat. And since most of these enemies can kill these mechs pretty easily, it means you either fight them or risk your back getting shot. So overall, the Emancipator's weapons requires more ammo and a bit more durable power. Then we have the Patriot suit, which could both use an upgrade for both of its weapons. And overall, both of them just need way more armor. But before we continue a little bit more into my video, can you guys watch my cat real quickly? I'll just be right back. Okay, give me a second.
Mechanized warfare. There's plenty of issues our Robotech guy listed out, but what are some solutions? Well, to this Super Patriot, I think ways we can make mechs great again is by fulfilling a niche for them, because currently they only act as a weapon platform on legs, which, while mechs are basically that boiled down, I think we can spicing it up so that they are more utility to the team. For example, we should stop making different mechs just because they have different guns. Let mechs have the ability to equip different guns and provide a different niche that mechs can play into to support the team to justify different stratagem variants of them. Because at the end of the day, if they ever make an Emancipator have a flamethrower and one autocannon on each arm, what is the difference between that and the Emancipator we have now? The name justification doesn't really validate it. Things like mechs with wider legs and the ability to keyword hunker down so that they turn into an emplacement where divers can use them as cover behind their legs, or maybe a mech with a large rail cannon sniper attached to it where it's designed to not be in the front or even near the team, but way in the back of the map sniping at large targets like factory striders, because currently mechs really do just feel like sentry turrets on legs, and I think they can be so much more. Before I go, Arrowhead, when we eventually drop some type of ship module or upgrade chain for mechs, can we please have an upgrade where hell bombs are installed on all mechs standardized across the line, so that if we do never add a resupply for mechs, instead of just leaving a perfectly good mech on the battlefield once it's empty, I can walk that shit straight into an outpost or bot drop and blow it up. I mean, Gators come equipped with a self-destruct option. Why wouldn't a mech? Now back to your favorite mech enthusiast.
Oh, Arrowhead, I hope you're watching this video because the mechs need to be changed. There is a lot of opportunity with them in the game that's just not being utilized. But I hope this will change your guys' mind to make these mechs stronger, because there's nothing more sad than having a stratagem that doesn't have any use. But that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for Commissar Kai and Saikari for hopping on to help talk about the mechs today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all of us to see more of our content. And I will see you on the battlefield.